Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is David Uknes. I'm the Regional Sales Manager for the Americas Sensor Business Unit of TE Connectivity, and I will be your moderator today. Our presenters are Bill Irwin and Susan Zacks. Let me introduce them here. Bill is our Head of Business Development for Medical Sensors at TE Connectivity, and he's worked in medical devices design and qualification for over 20 years. Bill holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Mechanical Engineering from Marquette University and an MBA from the University of Phoenix. Susan has over 30 years of experience, including manufacturing engineering, production management, product development, and product and portfolio management in medical and industrial markets. Currently, she is the system architect for the medical pump focus application, responsible for leading future sensor product roadmap development. Over the last 15 years, Susan has been focused on medical sensor applications, especially in patient monitoring and medical pumps, and working on projects with some of the world's largest medical OEMs to meet their sensor needs. Over the next hour, they're going to take us into the market trends, the different medical pump architectures and implementation challenges, and the increasing role sensors are playing in medical pump devices. We'll also focus on specific sensor technologies and the new abilities and advanced controls and monitoring they provide the medical pump industry. At the end of this presentation, we'll open it up for questions, but you can ask questions in the chat or question box anytime throughout the presentation. If we're not able to answer all the questions during the time allotted, we'll follow up with you through email or phone. I'm going to hand it over at this time to Bill and kick us off for today's presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you, David, and welcome to the Medical Pump webinar. Today we'll discuss how TE sensors enable smarter medical pumps. We'll cover 4 common pumps that are used in this space. We'll highlight TE sensing technologies, including force, pressure, ultrasonic, and temperature that are used to control parameters within the pumps. At TE, we have a proven track record in medical sensing and in medical pumps. We support our customers around the world with accurate, stable, and reliable sensors that ensure that patients receive the care they need. TE's portfolio of products for medical pumps helps our customers get to market faster and enables new functionality within their systems. Next slide, please. So first, let's touch on some trends within the medical market. The graphic on the left shows us the population in the US in 1960 versus the trend we're on for 2060. Youngest age at the bottom and oldest at the top. What we can see is that modern medicine is really allowing us to live longer, but the demand for care certainly increases with population size and age of the population. We see with this that care is shifting more toward the home and out of the doctor's office or hospital, and we see a growth of middle class globally that drives the need for care. We see in the center graphic some new care models. Certainly telemedicine, telehealth were adopted quickly because of COVID-19. And we see a shift toward value or outcome-based care models over pay-for-services. And in the third slide, for consumerization, I'm sure we've all seen fitness trackers, things like watches, beds, and other items that track our vital signs. Many of these really just help us develop healthier habits, but some are becoming certified medical devices. With certified medical devices, these are information you can share with your doctor and they can use to help guide care. This is a trend we certainly think will continue. Next slide. Now I'll touch on a few sensing trends. Certainly, the Internet of Things is something we're experiencing everywhere, and medical devices are becoming more and more connected to networks or the cloud. This is being accelerated certainly by things like the remote care or the telemedicine we discussed on the last slide. In the middle, miniaturization. Devices continue to become smaller and more portable. They become more a part of our daily lives. Not only does it enable that, but sensors really are becoming so small, they're enabling things that didn't exist even 5 years ago. Kind of playing into the next trend of minimally invasive. So, growth in things like robotics, laparoscopics, and catheter procedures are all enabled by sensors, and really minimally invasive means quicker recovery for the patients and ultimately drives down the total cost of care within the market. Next slide. So in this next section, we'll take a look at the 4 different types of medical pumps. So we can go to the next slide. We'll dive into the first one, which is dialysis. So dialysis is a treatment for acute and chronic kidney failure. The kidneys function within the body is to remove fluids and toxins from the blood. So this is ultimately the task that a dialysis pump is taking on. In dialysis pumps, we have 2 different types, and historically they've had kind of 2 different locations and use cases. So hemodialysis is one that's historically been done in the hospitals or clinics. In this treatment, the blood is removed from the body and it's circulated through a machine, purified and then returned to the body. Patients that undergo hemodialysis typically undergo 3 to 4 treatments a week, and they do that at a dialysis center, clinic, or a hospital. Peritoneal dialysis, by contrast, instead of being purified in a machine, there's actually fluid pumped into a space around the organs, which is called the peritoneum in the abdomen, and the body itself is used as the filter media. This is typically a treatment that's done at home, and it's performed overnight, usually taking about 8 hours. So, you may ask what drives the choice, and oftentimes it's proximity to the clinic and flexibility of the schedule for the patient. And looking at the trends in dialysis, what we see is we see customers interested in measuring more and more data and looking for ways to correlate data to positive or negative results. TE sensors like pressure, temperature, force, ultrasonic air bubble, and position all help control these parameters to accentuate the positive results. When you think about it, a degree of temperature change in the blood being removed and reintroduced into the body puts a tax on the system and greatly impacts patient comfort throughout the treatment. The ability to upload and share information with doctors is another big one, as well as controlling those parameters we discussed. And this all drives a shift toward home-based hemodialysis, which is really kind of the best of both worlds for the patient. Shorter treatment that they can do in their own home, less times a week when it fits their schedule. Next slide. The next one is infusion pumps, and infusion pumps are many times the ones you see on the pole in a hospital. So they deliver controlled doses of either medicine or nutrients to a patient. And small doses over time leads to better outcomes. Essentially, if you get a shot, you have a huge spike in the amount of drugs in the system, and then that wanes over time as they get used. Through using an infusion pump, you can keep that small dose consistent in the body. So these are used, as I said, primarily in hospitals, but can be used in places like nursing homes or homes as well. Customers want to ensure that consistent flow of drugs reaches the patient, and we enable that by doing things like detecting bubbles in the system, blockages in tubing, position of the pump, or pressure in the lines. When we look at where these are headed, certainly systems are getting smarter and pre-programmed with drug libraries, and dosage guidelines, ability to upload performance parameters into the system, removing workload off of the medical staff, and ability to trigger centralized alarms. Next slide. Next one is syringe pumps. So syringe pumps, main difference here, delivering via syringe and kind of the makeup of and design of a syringe pump. So deliver a precise dosage via the syringe, and they're typically designed with a stepper motor and lead screw assembly for very precise dosing. So OEMs in this area really are continuing to add that level of safety and reporting to the system with the inclusion of drug libraries with recommended dosing and alarm settings. The sensors in these will detect things like air bubbles, blockages, monitoring the movement of the plunger to ensure that the system has performed the way it was intended. And again, these can be networked and can be alarmed to allow nurses to monitor this from a central location. Next slide. And the next type of pump we'll talk about is the insulin pump. So insulin pumps are used by patients with type 1 diabetes, which is a genetic disorder that typically shows up early in life. These pumps deliver kind of two different ways. So they deliver small doses of insulin throughout the day, and then they deliver mealtime bolus injections to match the patient's need and keep the blood sugars balanced. So these are used by patients as part of their daily life. Being used as part of your daily life subjects them to all kinds of things that you wouldn't get exposed to in a hospital environment. So they're going to see things like heat, humidity, cold. They're going to experience bumps and falls and many other conditions throughout the day. When we look at these pumps, some of the trends include the ability to read glucose data from wireless sensors, and the pumps increasingly being adjusting dosages throughout the day based on real-time feedback from the patient's current condition. Systems more and more are learning patients' patterns and are able to anticipate the needs. Some of the sensors that are used in insulin pumps to help perform these functions include force sensors that will detect the start and end of a reservoir of insulin being added to the system, will detect things like blockages, and can even help, via pressure sensors, these systems adjust to changes in altitude. So with that, this concludes the overview of the markets and the pump applications. I'll wrap up by saying that TE is ready to help you enable these and other functions in your next medical pump project. And I'll now turn it over to Susan Zacks, who will walk us through sensing technology and application examples.
Thank you, Bill. Hi, everyone. My name is Susan Zacks. I'm the system architect for medical pumps at TE Sensors. I'm also the product manager for ultrasonic sensors. I'm happy to have the opportunity today to introduce some of the key TE sensor technologies that are utilized in medical pump applications. There are force sensors, pressure sensors, ultrasonic bubble sensors, and temperature sensors. First, I want to introduce the TE force sensor and how it works. In the center, you can see a view of a load cell with layer construction. On the top layer, we first start with a one-piece housing with integrated flexure areas. Then the silicone strain gauges are attached to the flexure areas. Next, an ASIC package is mounted onto a PCB. Then the PCB assembly is attached to the flexures. After electrical connection with wire bonds, a ribbon cable is attached and the housing is enclosed with a bottom cover. On the right, in order for the low cell to work, it needs to be mounted onto a flat rigid surface. And force sensor is applied to the center button of the housing, as you could see in the picture on the bottom left. Flexures deform slightly, and strain gauges detect the deformation and then send signals to the PCB. The ASIC on the PCB inside the housing converts the signals to a digital output, then the output transmitted to the ribbon cable. The main application for force sensors in medical pumps is to detect possible occlusion and to ensure a correct flow of fluid within a pump. When a blockage occurs, the tubing expands and a force sensor placed where the tubing meets the housing can detect this expansion. The sensor then can trigger an alarm to alert the user if this expansion is detected. So here are some examples of the TE force sensors. For insulin pump, FS19 miniature low cell is ideal due to its small package size and high sensitivity with an analog output. And its low range from 350 grams to 3 kilograms. For infusion pump application, we have FS20 low cell with a standard package and an amplified analog output. And its low ranges from 500 grams to 5 kilograms. For syringe pump, we have FX29 low cell, and it has a robust construction, and it has various output options such as millivolt output, amplified, and digital outputs. FX29 has a wide load range from 10 pounds to 200 pounds. So you can see with a diverse product portfolio, TE offers a wide range of force sensors that can meet the most challenging medical pump applications. Next, let's talk about pressure sensor, how it works. TE has multiple pressure sensing technologies. In this example, I want to talk about piezo-resistive pressure die. On the left, you can see a die construction. Piezo resistors are made by implanting carriers in a specific geometry to optimize resistive changes. The die is then wire bonded to an ASIC or a PC board or ceramic. And this assembly then are enclosed with plastic housing or stainless housing, depending on the application. An ASIC is typically used to provide calibration and digital or analog outputs. On the right side, you can see that when pressure is applied and deflect the diaphragm, it induces stress or strain. And the stress or strain causes a change in resistance output from the pressure die. The resistance change is dependent on the direction of the stress relative to the silicone structure and is proportional to the amount of stress. So TE sensor, we're the industry leader for our range of both standard and custom pressure sensors, from board level components to fully amplified and packaged transducers. TE pressure sensors offer the widest pressure range in the industry, from 0.003 psi up to 100,000 psi. We have piezo-resistive die, which I introduced in the previous slide. We have MEMS technology, which is the microfuse strain gauge. And then we also have bonded foil strain gauge. We provide package assembly with sensing elements on PCB or ceramic or packaged in plastic housings or stainless housing. We have expertise in ASIC development to optimize accuracy and calibration techniques and power consumption. And having in-house ASIC expertise allows us the flexibility for sensor designs and an ability to enhance the system performance instead of just sensor performance. Here are some examples of pressure sensors. For dialysis machine, we have 85 BSD pressure sensor with stainless steel housing, which is designed to be exposed to media. It also has flush-mounted diaphragm so that there are no air gaps, and it can provide digital output. In the middle, we have the 1620 disposable pressure sensor, which is ideal for infusion pump applications. The 1620 is biocompatible and has silicone gel for media isolation. And the sensor is designed to be in line with media, so there's no flow restriction. For smaller footprint applications like insulin pump, the MS5839 pressure sensor has an O-ring seal, can provide digital output, and it can also be used in line with drug delivery. We manufacture one of the world's lowest power pressure sensor, which is the MS5839 I just showed here on the picture. We also manufacture the smallest package pressure sensor in the industry. The sensor is called IntraSense, and it's used in catheter applications. So you could see the TE provide a wide range of products in pressure sensing area. Next, let's talk about ultrasonic bubble sensors. The TE air bubble sensors are integrated with electronics. The piezo crystals are mounted between the two posts in the housing that you can see in the picture here. One is the transmitter and the other is the receiver. So on top, you could see the side view of an air bubble detector where ultrasonic sound waves are sent from the transmitter through the tubing with liquid to the receiver. When liquid is passing through the tube between the transmitter-receiver pair, there are strong ultrasonic signals. And so the sensor will produce a TTL output as low, which indicates liquid presence. Next at the bottom, you can see the side view where ultrasonic waves are sent from the transmitter through the tubing with air to the receiver. When an air bubble is passing through the tube between the transmitter-receiver pair, there are weak ultrasonic signals. The sensor will produce a TTL output as high, which then indicate air bubble presence. Ultrasonic air bubble sensors can be used in all 4 different pump applications that we discussed today. TE offers 2 different types of air bubble detectors with different bubble sensitivity. The standard AD101 can detect minimum bubble size at 70% of the inner diameter of the tube. And we offer 2 different types of housing sizes, one for 4 millimeter tubing and the other one for the 6 millimeter tubing. And these are standard sizes used in most medical pump applications. We also recently developed a high resolution AD101, which has the industry-leading bubble sensitivity. The sensor is able to detect minimum bubble size at less than 25% of the inner diameter of the tube. The high-resolution AD101 is especially suited for dialysis machines due to its high resolution. TE also has developed a proprietary test system that can accurately generate small bubbles and verify bubble sizes. This test system allows us to validate our air bubble sensor performance. When customers have special housing, tubing, or minimum bubble size requirements, this test system enables us to accurately evaluate feasibility of our sensor designs. and tweak the sensor design based on the requirements. Lastly, let's talk about TE temperature sensors. TE sensors offer a broad range of temperature sensing technologies. We have NTC, which is negative temperature coefficient thermistor for temperature up to 300 degrees C, typically used for high accuracy applications. We have RTD, which is resistance temperature detector for temperature up to 1000 degrees C. TE also has a line of thermocouple for rugged and harsh environment applications. We also offer micro thermocouples. For non-contact temperature measurement, TE thermopiles can provide accurate and stable measurements. We also have a line of digital temperature sensors suitable for application with less than 1 degree C accuracy. These digital temperature sensors are factory calibrated to provide accurate temperature data and have a market-leading cost to performance ratio. TE has extensive packaging expertise and ability to customize from sensing elements to temperature probe for specific applications. Here are some examples of temperature sensors used in a dialysis machine. A stainless tubular temperature probe can be immersed in media to measure fluid reservoir temperature in a dialysis machine. Another example is an inline temperature probe to measure fluid temperature in the flow channel of a pump. These are both NTC sensors, capable of high accuracy measurement. And we typically custom design temperature probe for different medical pump applications, working closely with our customers. As you can see, with all these unique sensing technologies within one TE umbrella, we are in a unique position to combine multiple sensing technologies into one package to minimize sensor footprints and to simplify sensor output complexity. Working with TE sensors, you gain the value of our deep experience in helping customers developing sensor solutions to respond to many technical challenges in medical pump applications. Now, to conclude, it's my pleasure to share a customer testimonial. While working closely with an innovative home dialysis equipment manufacturer, TE has become the most important supplier for this customer. With TE sensing technologies and our customer's proprietary software, our customer was able to pioneer the first of its kind technology to revolutionize home dialysis equipment market. This customer used a total of 24 different TE sensors in their home dialysis system. TE ultrasonic sensors are used to monitor dialysate liquid level in a reservoir. TE temperature sensors are used to monitor temperature during dialysis to ensure proper disinfection. TE pressure sensors are used to ensure blood lines are accurately connected and also to monitor the patient's blood pressure to ensure patient comfort and safety. TE sensors help simplify dialysis machine training and setup time, and it reduces the patient's bedside charting time for healthcare providers. TE sensor also enables automation and intelligence gathering needed to offer a better dialysis experience for the patients. This partnership between our customer and TE is making a big difference and a profound permanent change to the entire field of dialysis. This concludes my part of the presentation. Now I will turn over to Devin to conclude the webinar. Thank you.
Hey, Susan, that's great. And Bill, thank you very much for that update today on medical pumps and the technologies that go into it. Right now, we'll take some questions from our audience. We have a few that have come in on the chat board. And let me start off. The first one, Bill, is just a general question about sample availability for the products that were shown today.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, and happy to address samples. So certainly the samples or the products we discussed today are available on our website at te.com. They're available through distribution and through your local representatives.
Great, thanks, Bill. Another question that came in, and probably back to you again, Bill. Are these sensors that we talked about today, are they compatible with all infusion pumps? Is there differences between the infusion pumps or the technologies that can be compatible with those?
So yeah, another good question, talking about compatibility. I guess that the really two things that we need to think about when we talk compatibility is, does the sensor have direct contact with the fluids that are being introduced to the body? We certainly have some different sensors available. The 1620 for pressure was one that was mentioned that is compliant with fluids introduced to the body. We were certainly happy to talk to any customers about which ones would meet those specific needs.
Great, thanks, Bill. Susan, looks like one of the questions, you had talked about customization of some of the components, and what is our ability and openness to customize some of these products?
Right. So we for many of our product lines, we have some standard offering where it's generic, and we offer it to any customers who want to evaluate our sensors. But typically, especially for medical pump applications, we end up customizing the sensor for our customers. So we very much provide customization for our customers. And in fact, we have a lot of experience doing customization for different medical pump applications. And our experience has always been very helpful in guiding our customer to a basically cost-efficient and solution to fulfill their requirements.
I guess along those lines, Susan, actually, Bill, how do we get that type of help to customers? What resources do we have available for that?
Yeah, so happy to take that one. Certainly, we have a global organization. We have local sales reps and local design and manufacturing teams available. So first step for customer would be get in touch with your local TE representative, and we'll be happy to connect you to the right teams.
Great, thanks, Bill. There's a couple questions that have come in from some of the listeners regarding safety standards. In particular, the IEC 60601 electrical safety standard, as well as the IEC 62304 compliant documentation. Susan, Bill, I'm not sure, jump ball here.
Yeah, so I'll take this one. Depending on the products, right? So when we have products that has integrated electronics, then we will have to meet all kinds of safety standards that's listed here, and that's part of the design process that we will go through the qualification and making sure we meet the standard before we release the products. So it's application specific, but we very much follow the industry standard before we can release the product.
Very good. And Susan, this is more of a generic question from one of the listeners. Looking at the ASICs, we talk about sensors plus ASICs. What is the added value that the ASIC provides that the user can't do with a general purpose circuit outside of the sensor?
Right. So the ASICs is needed for signal processing, obviously, so that instead of just taking the raw signal coming out of the sensor, then our customer will need to process that signal, which add to the burden on the customer. We provide an ASIC inside our sensors, so the signal processing are done within the sensor, and then so that the signal coming out of digital output is much easier for the customer's machine or their system to accept and process. And also with the advantage of the ASIC, it replaces a burdensome big PC board, in the old days that you need to attach to the sensor, so you can make the sensor much smaller and also much cost effective.
Great, thanks, Susan. Yeah, that's always the discussion of putting the ASIC on chip versus doing the processing outside, and having that ASIC integrated with the package with the device gives you the best performance.
Right, and just to add, like I mentioned before in the pressure sensor, we actually have a very strong ASIC development team, and the advantage for that is that we could actually do some really unique product design that enable us to make the smallest pressure sensor in the industry, and also the sensor with the lowest power consumption. And that's all because our ability to design the ASICs in-house, and we could marry it with a sensor design and build something that's really unique and beneficial for the market.
A good point. There was another question in here about standards, and it says 13845. I'm familiar with 13485 medical standards. I think Bill and Susan, you have experience on both.
So we're talking about 13485?
It's actually listed as 13845. I'm not sure if that's a typo.
I think that's probably a typo.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, it's a medical device manufacturing standard 13485, and our factories, multiple factories in the global footprints, all have ISO 13485 certification. So we have manufacturing lines that could build medical devices that meets all the standards, medical industry standards, and these devices go directly to hospitals. It does not require any additional testings or repackaging. So yes, it's definitely a standard that we follow, and and we have in our factory.
Great, thanks, Susan. I think there's a follow-up question. Susan, you had talked about combo sensors, multiple functions, ability within the same device. I think you used the example of force and bubble detect. There was pressure and temperature. Can you elaborate a little more on the types of types of combo sensors that are available or that we can do?
Right. So I mentioned combo sensors, TE, really because of all these technologies we have in-house. We have the unique capability to combine sensors to basically, like I said, simplify the connection complexity, and also to make smaller footprints of the overall sensor. So we have a combo sensor right now. Typically, they're customized. We don't have standard combo sensors today. So we have air bubble, a combination of air bubble and force sensors combined that's very unique and very, very suitable for medical pump applications. And we also have pressure and temperature combo sensors, so that the temperature sensor can detect temperature and also calibrate to that, calibrate based on temperature. So these are, just two examples. But we are, I mean, there's obviously lots of new applications out there. We are very much interested in the combo sensing applications. And so if any of our customers are interested in combining other different type of sensors together, we are very much open to that and would love to hear about your requirements. So please, reach out to us and we could discuss your combo sensing applications and provide a solution for you.
Great, thank you, Susan. There's a lot of questions coming in about whether, do we get a copy of the presentation? How do we get samples in our territory? To everyone listening, there's an email address on the screen here, sensorsqt@te.com. If you have a specific question, that will get routed to the right audience. In addition, the invitation that you were sent, you'll get a follow-up today from this webinar, which will have links in it to the presentation. So you'll be able to download the presentation with it or without the audio. We are recording this presentation. And if you have any further questions, of course, you can contact us directly then. One other question that just came in is, Susan, we talk about a lot of sensors and performance relation. What type of test reports or performance criteria or performance evaluations do we have with these products? Do we offer them in a data sheet, or is this something that we would provide as we talk more one-on-one with customers?
Right. So for standard products, we don't. You could get information from te.com of the different reports that we may have. But typically for a customization project with our customer, we basically go through the journey during the design cycle with our customer. And oftentimes we take on some of the qualification tests ourselves. We typically, for example, the air bubble detector, we would do the EMC testing, and for some other application like pressure sensors, we actually would do the biocompatibility study, so that we take some of those qualification burden away from the customer. And it's typically for custom applications, obviously, but definitely within our capability. And the reports are obviously, if it's something that we work closely with our customer, we will share the test report with our customer as well.
Very good. So it's really understanding the application and the specific tests that might be required for that. We would work together with the customer to provide that type of testing in a repeatable environment.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Well, that wraps us up with all the questions that have come in. Unless anyone has a last-minute question, we can wrap up this session. I don't see anything new coming in under the wire. So on behalf of TE Connectivity, I want to thank the presenters, Bill Irwin, Susan Zacks, great job, and our attendees. We appreciate you spending almost an hour here listening to TE sensors on medical pumps and the technologies that we have for these applications. If you have more questions, or you have a desire to download the presentation, you will get a follow-up email. It will have links in there. There'll be links also to white papers and other presentation material in that email and in those links. So with that, I wish you all a good day. Thank you again for attending, and look forward to seeing you on the next webinar. Thanks all.